Thank you for tuning in to our Invest Palm Beach Leadership Summit. You're about to watch panel number 2, The Skills Economy, how educators are preparing tomorrow's workforce and what businesses must do now to close skills gaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more leadership perspectives. Enjoy.
One of the things I think we know in the educational sphere is that the pace of acceleration is dramatic, not only in industry, but also in education. And I think how educators respond to that becomes more critical all the time, not only for training the workforce, but also just in what goes on in our classrooms. Are degrees still really important? Degrees are still really important, but the notion of skills and experience and some of the soft skills like resiliency are becoming more and more significant, I think, for our students. So as we begin, let's do a question for everybody. So if you were thinking about the one skill that you think is most important in training our students for the future, what would you say? So how about we start with Ralph and then we'll go.
I'm very fast. Probably learning capacity. So the ability to learn what you need to know, when you need to know it, and often unexpected or ambiguous times.
For everybody, I would say adaptability is one of the most important skills for young people these days. We didn't know in 2020 what would happen. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. And being flexible and adaptable really helps students thrive in the future that we're preparing them for, that we don't know what will hold. And so allowing them to be flexible, to be quick to pivot, to use their skills in a variety of settings and a variety of areas can really help them be successful.
I'm going to look at this through the perspective of an educational consultant who specializes in college admission. And it's not the academic skills, it's not the grades, it's not the test scores. It's definitely the whole realm of soft skills, the personal skills that make a student stand out and be prepared for the future. So, for example, when applying to college, the new standard has become students who graduate high school pretty much with straight A averages, as high as you can go in SAT or ACT. That will get them in the door. That will give them the first read. It's like, what happens next? And so it's these students who sort of take the bull by the horns and get so involved in extracurricular commitment, but not joining a range of different clubs. It's students who have perseverance, have grit, who take the initiative to start things, to rally others to work with them, to collaborate. I think we've heard that word collaboration used so much in the first half. It's the ability to impact others and to sort of keep that momentum going. And so it's just that whole realm of soft skills that really make a difference today.
So Ralph, let's go back to you. So at Oxbridge, how are you going beyond the curriculum, traditional curriculum? What are you doing to do the collaboration, the skill building? What does that look like at Oxbridge?
I think 2 years ago, for me, last year, I would have talked about AI and data science. We're just still doing a lot of that, where we had a lead on a lot of that in the area. But in terms of those 3 areas, I would actually really emphasize the humanities and social science, because I think the hard skills piece are really kind of table stakes for schools where they should be. But the differentiator is really teaching students how to think, and really has been for years. It's the thesis of the skills economy is really that skills have a short half-life, so to speak, that they're not going to be that useful and far into the future. We need to teach them this through metacognition, that they'll be able to use whatever skills they acquire as they get older. So we try to do that through the humanities in a lot of ways. So in middle school, where we use an integrated humanities model, where we pull together literature and history together through common texts and historical subjects to teach writing, research, and analysis and critical thinking. Once you get into high school, we don't do IB or AP, which gives us this just immense ability to offer a wonderful selection of electives. I was in a class yesterday where You're doing a Roman Senate simulation they've been doing for a couple of weeks. So students were doing they were like Crassus, Cato, Caesar, and they were they were just studying coalition building. They're actually doing coalition building, which is an enduring skill they're going to use no matter what the context is, for the rest of their life, especially if they get into areas like political science. So, it's a kind of a contrarian view. It's also a little bit old-fashioned view. But I think innovating in that area, I think this really resonates with educators. Humanities, social science, that's kind of the key.
But, and Chuck, at Boca, what are you doing? Because you talked about this before. We're preparing students for jobs that don't even exist yet. So how are you doing that in terms of your curriculum?
At Boca Prep, we're an IB school, so International Baccalaureate, pre-K to 12, which means we offer it starting at 3 years old all the way until they're a senior. We're one of 7 IB schools in the state of Florida to offer IB for every grade level, and only 2 in Palm Beach County who have that. The only one in the room today. So what we do through IB is there's approaches to learning that we follow to help students with the skills they'll need for a future that we don't know what it will be. The skills include things like self-management, organization, time management, being able to prioritize certain tasks, research, thinking, inquiry, all of these different skills that aren't necessarily concrete fact memorization or being able to regurgitate a certain fact or information on a test, but they can apply them throughout whatever context they might find. So in an IB education, you'll find that there's certain aspects of the curriculum that can really transcend all kinds of contexts where they might find themselves. In 10th grade, our students complete a personal project, which is really a time for them to focus on a passion of theirs that is outside of the curriculum per se, but it helps them build those skills that they'll need in the future of collaborating with their classmates of someone that they might not necessarily work with, of problem solving when their project doesn't go to plan, and when they try to build a solar car and it doesn't charge, and how do we problem solve and pivot because it's not working the way they thought it would. In the past, I've had students who have done all kinds of projects that really help them explore their passions, from volunteering at an animal shelter to making stuffed animals to donate to the Children's Hospital, to starting a nonprofit that then also helped raise money to clean oceans and help sea life and sea turtles, to building a solar car, like I said, all kinds of things that you don't find in a traditional school. That really helps them grow, and it helps them see what it's like to start something new. And perhaps it will funnel them to be an entrepreneur at some point, or it might funnel them when they're in college and they're in higher education, and they're not quite sure which track to take and where they want to focus their studies. They can reflect back on what they did, and they can remember this one core component that they really enjoyed, and that they can then focus on that for whatever career path they might take. So it's a unique opportunity that we have. You would find students who are out of their seats in the classroom, who are working with groups from students from all over the world. We have 40 different nationalities represented at our school. You rarely hear English in the hallways. They're speaking their own languages with each other, with their friends, and it's quite a unique atmosphere. And so to have them in that setting where they're able to explore freely all kinds of educational options and really understand from the world view what it's like to work with diverse personalities and people from different backgrounds really helps set them up for success for a future that we don't know what might occur when they graduate in 10, 15 years from now.
Jimmy, talk about at SCORE Academy. You do a little bit more maybe alternative education models. How are you using alternative education models to close the gap in terms of skill building for students?
So SCORE Academy is actually nothing but really alternative. It is different. We're fully accredited private schools, but we are micro schools. And that's become a very popular term, perhaps over the last 8 to 10 years. So a micro school has intentionally small classrooms. We can have our signature classroom is a classroom of one teacher, one student, completely one-on-one. It can be used for remediation. It can be used for, advancement for AP. We teach every AP course that exists. We are accredited for K through 12. Primarily, I would say it's middle school students, it's high school students. And it's an education that offers just tremendous flexibility in terms of scheduling. So that if we have a gifted golfer, tennis player, thespian, entrepreneur, they can pursue their passions outside of school almost on a full-time basis because we will adjust instructional hours to meet their needs. So whether they're working with us in person coming into school or working with us remotely because they're competing in a tournament, in Hong Kong, we can still meet their needs. And because our classroom size is so small and the average might be, say, 4 to 5 students, the student can't hide. She can't slip through the cracks anymore. And a teacher can notice gaps almost immediately, make the changes that are necessary, perhaps shift that student into a one-on-one for a short period, and help that student really find her right pace. And in a small classroom, kids can often work collectively, collaboratively, doing project-based learning, and really all participate. It's a very, very interactive education. So we wind up serving a few hundred students throughout South Florida on individual campuses with teachers who are more like mentors to the students. And we build tremendous self-confidence and send our students off to some of top colleges, not just in the state, but throughout the whole, not just the country either, throughout the world. We're really proud of what our students, have accomplished.
Doesn't matter, takes this one. So how do we as schools do a better job collaborating with business to train students? What's your take on it?
I'll be happy to start. So we have the seminar program where we will bring in industry experts who are often the parents of our students who will come in and talk about what it is that they do for a living, how they got involved in it, what skills they need, what they do on a day-to-day basis. And so it could be someone who does welding or automotive, or perhaps it's a computer scientist, but it could be from virtually any field if we want to expose our students to the wide world of work. And we have partnerships with so many of these families that will help us set up shadowing experiences for the students, because I think it's that experiential education that makes such a difference when the student can actually say, go into a dentist's office and watch what is going on and ask questions of the dentist, of the hygienist, even, of the patients. So I think it's that whole collaboration. It's similar to the way in which we will often make recommendations for pre-college summer programs on college campuses, where a student might go to, say, Carnegie Mellon for the summer to learn about the field of education or computer science and decide if this is something that he wants to pursue or not.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. So I think at the heart of it, and why it can be challenging, is that it's not inherently transactional in the traditional sense. It's not like the co-op programs that like Drexel has, which can be phenomenal for a business. They get very high value added, engineering students or business students in for a year or for 6 months that do great work, and then the students give great work and Institute Pack to then get education on top of that. Most of our high school students, that some could add value, but a lot of those become entrepreneurs. So it's what the students are getting is educational. What the businesses tend to get is goodwill, and also just institutional, which is phenomenal. But I think that acknowledging that on the front end is really important. We have a great program too, and it's a 2-week program called Finance Experience. It can go 3 weeks too. Where 4 days a week with a group of students, just select group of students by application, that go to finance firms in various sectors around this area and spend all day with the C-suite getting just intensive briefing on everything they do in terms of their decision making. And then on Friday, they debrief them the whole week with one of our teachers, who's the head teacher in the finance and economics area. And that sort of immersion plus debriefing and even assignments around the immersion are really helpful. And so it's kind of modeled a little bit on some of the executive rotation programs that used to exist, but still do actually in GE and other places. And I think that can be a good model for high school. It's sort of realistic about again, what the transaction actually can be and looks like. There are others, certainly, but that's been a good place for us.
Part of our program is we have a certain amount of service hours students have to obtain to graduate. A lot of them get their service hours through modified internships. So I think what we have to do as business leaders is really reflect on what an internship is and maybe change the way we view internships from what they once were 5-10 years ago. We know students are overcommitted, they're overscheduled, they have all kinds of activities during the day and outside of school that they participate in. Not only for their personal enjoyment, but for college resumes, for trying to get one step up on the application of where they want to go. Florida schools are more competitive now than they've ever been, and they're very tough to get in for homegrown students in Florida, let alone for students outside of the state. So they're trying to do anything they can to get a leg up. And with that, sometimes they don't have time to commit 10 weeks for an internship, or they don't have the ability to dedicate 4 hours, 1 hour after school every day to get to your place of business or wherever they might need to go. So an internship could be virtual. It could be speaking with an executive and learning about what they have to offer and learning about what it is like to be in a day in the life of a financial advisor, or what it's like to work at a bank who's just integrating AI through Copilot, and what the problems have been with that. That can all be learning, and it might not be in person, or it might not look like what we experienced when we had internships growing up and going through college and through high school, but it can still be quite beneficial. And so being flexible on both ends, on the school end and on the organization, I think to really implement some change and really help our students explore some opportunities.
I just say that's a very good point. So let's do one more question. Schools are notoriously good at not changing and being very traditional.
Thank you.
Yeah, we kind of know that. In your mind, in the next 5 years, 10 years, what's the big, bold change that educators need to be thinking about to close the skills economy gap?
Roughly done. I think the last panel hit on it they were, and it didn't surprise me because I think higher education has been there for a while, trying to get to it. I experienced it firsthand. So I was a business school professor before I became a head of school, and so I've actually taught middle school up through executive MBAs. And one of the things that I've observed is that 18 and 19-year-olds learn theory that they have nothing to apply to them. It's fascinating to them, but they just have no context. And then 35-year-olds are less hungry, and 35 to 60-year-olds are the hungriest learners possibly get. Right? They've encountered problems in the workforce on their careers that they need solutions for. And then they're delighted by the solutions you provide because they're already expecting them. I had the dean of the medical school at Tulane getting the executive MBA with me, and tech strategy and entrepreneurship. It was just the most amazing thing. So I think there's something about time structures and education and breaking those up a bit. And this is not a novel thought. This is running around the industry like crazy, but I do think something about breaking those up, that the K through 12 to undergrad to master's does not seem to be a very efficient model with the way that careers were or even are. There seems to be, and that doesn't mean less education. It might even be lower. It seems like there should be the spaces for work and then going back. Almost, this continuing education model seems like it should be more than the norm. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't get to go on. But that strikes me as a bigger model for companies. And it strikes me as probably a better model for universities. It's very expensive to offer the residential university model. And I think business schools actually have gotten pretty good at this. Some of the other colleges would like it too. So that's That's my take.
Good. Could be. It's an interesting thought because it's almost around on when a student graduates high school, they all go right to undergrad. We kind of think, well, what's wrong with that? Why aren't they going to school? But to get the work experience at that time and to do some trial and error to see what they like and where they want to focus their time could be quite beneficial. I think one change that school has started to make, but we're not quite there yet, is the actual what school looks like and the timing of what the school day is. We see some districts moving to a 4-day week where they go to school Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday for longer periods, and then they're off on Friday. You could do an internship day on Friday where they're out in the community. So, but you have to have flexibility in the corporate world for the working parents who need to take care of their children. So it takes rethinking on both sides. But something that we've done at Boca Prep is we have the ability for students to pursue their passions before school starts. So our classes don't really start until 9:50. And we have students who at 7:30 will choose any kind of pathway they would like. We have students who are competitive tennis players and competitive golfers, and they're able to practice every day from 7:30 to about 9:20 when they come to school ready for the day. We have thespians who are working on state competitions. We have a sixth grade student who's at the state competition right now in Orlando. We have students who are competitive volleyball players. We have artists who are pursuing their art passions and they're in the design studio in the morning. So rethinking what the school day could look like could really change the way or the outcome for education for young people. And a lot of schools are doing that. Thankfully, up here we have the flexibility as independent institutions to do those kinds of changes. But when we think broader than public sector, they're much more locked down in what they can do and what the flexibility they have. So as leaders in the community, to think about that, to push change where change can be pushed, I think could really impact students all across Palm Beach County.
Yeah, I think in a pretty similar vein, I would see changes in the academic world where we're not just focusing, primarily on the 5 cores, on, the English, math, the social science, the science, and the world language. Actually, I guess, computer science, and they're now in maybe the sixth core. I think that there needs to be more vocational education brought into the full college prep curriculum, perhaps starting as early as middle school. And so where the electives might be more industry focused, where a student can be learning more, whether it's about something as technical as, engineering or something like, HVAC from, the trades. So exposing kids very early on to the different types of, work experiences that they can have. I also think that we need to incorporate AI more. In many schools forbid kids, can't use AI, and we all know that kids are using it to write their essays. Well, I think it needs to be taught in a way where AI is more of a thought buddy that I can brainstorm ideas. And I can tell you, I do this all the time. I look writing, creative writing, it's just part of who I am. But I will interact with Perplexity or ChatGPT and brainstorm ideas and then take it from there. And I find that having someone to really collaborate with, to talk to, my AI buddy, is really helping. And I think, students need to have to learn to use AI resourcefully, and that should be part of the curriculum. And just one other thing, and not that I can say I'm a big supporter of it, although I used to consult to them. College Board has been modifying the AI, the curriculum. And for instance, there is a new AP Advanced Placement course that's all business oriented. Also a new one with AI. It's an expansion of what they're doing computer science wise. So I just think some curricular changes can really improve on education and prepare our children for the future.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Awesome.